Well, hello. Today what we're going to go over is something called verb mood. That sounds weird that a word in a sentence can have a specific type of mood, but it does, just based on the type of sentence that it's in. And there are 5 of them that we're going to go over today. The first type of verb mood that we're going to go over is something called the indicative. The indicative is just indicating a state of factuality or reality, something that is actually happening. So if you have a sentence like, a cat sits on the stove, that verb sits is your indicative verb mood. It's stating something that's real. Most sentences in English are in the indicative mood. It's something that's basically happening right there. It describes what's happening. It gives details about reality. So that's really all it's doing. So this is probably the easiest one. It's called the indicative mood. The second type of verb mood is something called the imperative. Now, what does imperative mean? If something is imperative, that means you have to get it done. You must. So if something is imperative, like it's imperative that you turn in your homework on time, well, you really need to turn in your homework. So if something's imperative, it's basically indicating a state of command. You need to do this. So if you tell somebody, hey, give me back my money, that's an imperative verb mood in that sentence. One marker of the imperative is that sometimes it frequently, the subject, it doesn't appear in the sentence. So if you're talking about a person in particular, that's not usually in the imperative sentence. It's only implied. So if you're saying, give me back my money, the subject in the sentence, usually you're saying like, you, hey, Jack, give me back my money. The person Jack, the subject, is not there in the sentence, but it's just implied, or you're just sort of to assume that the person is there. So that is the second type. It's called the imperative. Another type of verb mood is something called the interrogative. That sounds like a big word, but to interrogate is this root word over here. And I always like to think of that scene in The Dark Knight where Batman is interrogating the Joker in that room and he's asking him all sorts of questions. And that's what the interrogative is. It's basically indicating a state of questioning. So it's basically a sentence like, will you leave me alone now? And that verb will indicates the interrogative. It's asking a question. It's a state of questioning. So basically one of the markers of the interrogative is that, the speaker, when they're talking, they invert the subject-verb order. And they usually place that helping verb, that verb will, the verb will, that comes first. So will you leave me alone? Instead of the statement, which would be, you will leave me alone. So the interrogative, it's a state of questioning. Will you leave me alone is a very good example. The next type of verb mood is something called the conditional. And I like to think of this as a condition must be met in order for something to happen in this type of verb mood. And I like to use the example if you're trying to get something out of your parents. And they say, okay, Johnny, we'll take you to McDonald's today, but on the condition that you clean your room. So that's the conditional verb. The other example that I like to use, you guessed it, Batman again. In The Dark Knight Rises, there's a scene where Bane and Batman are fighting, and there's a scene towards the end of the movie where there's this big bomb, and the bomb might explode if they don't find the trigger man or the person with the trigger for the bomb.
Where's the trigger? Where is it? You never give it to an ordinary citizen. Where is it? Where's the trigger? Where is it? Where is it?
So the bomb might explode. That word might is your conditional because something must happen in order for something else to happen. So words that you usually see in conditional verb moods are the word might, the word could, and the word would. So that is the conditional verb mood. The last type of verb mood that we're going to talk about is something called the subjunctive. Now, the subjunctive sounds like it's really scary because it's a big word and we don't know what it means. All you have to know about the subjunctive mood is that it's not real. It's hypothetical. So if you have the sentence, it's not really vital that he be involved in our group. That word be is your subjunctive. Why? Because the person that you're talking about, it's not really vital that he be involved in our group, is not in that group yet in that sentence. The word be is your hypothetical, is your subjunctive. So it's not really vital that he be involved in our group. Well, we're obviously talking about a person that we do not want in our group because it's not vital. Maybe he's a slacker and doesn't do his work. So it's not really vital that he be involved in our group. That is your subjunctive.
You're garbage. You kills for money. Don't talk like one of them. You're not. Even if you'd like to be.
Another sentence could be, I wish it were more fun to learn about verb moods, because that word were is your subjunctive. Could this lesson possibly be more interesting? Sure, I'm sure it could be. But the word were, that is your subjunctive. Well, you could be watching a more interesting video right now, but you're watching this one. So I wish it were more interesting to learn about verb moods. That's another subjunctive form of your verb.
Very poor choice of words.